Look at me. I'm Ian. I'm Ian. Look at me. Welcome to my podcast or something. Check it. That was my Ian impression.
That was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I think mine is a little better, though.
Yeah, you do a pretty good Ian impression. I don't know how you do it.
You practice. You knuckle down and you practice and you get there.
You crack those knuckles.
I crack my knuckles, my tootsies, my spinal column, and my neck. And then I just get down and practice.
I just do that YouTube video where they crack so much they just, like, break their bones and, like, bend and, like, contort themselves.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I am going to Google it later.
I think it's a YouTube video. It's just these guys, like, they just, like, keep they're cracking everything, and they just keep making it more and more intense to the point where they're, like, like, basically folding themselves in half.
Damn. That reminds me of a video I saw where one dude was cracking his neck, and his buddy's like, "Hey man, I've never been able to do that." And the guy walks over and he's like, "Here, I'll crack your neck for you." And he just breaks his neck. It's just that easy.
Huh.
Yeah, internet meme videos are pretty good.
This is an internet video, but it's not a meme video. This is the Protagonist seat. I should sit closer to my microphone. I was, like, leaning back in a relaxed position, but I'm not allowed to relax. This is a podcast where we can't relax.
We're recording. There is no time for relaxation.
Yeah, imagine if this was a relaxing podcast for us to do.
Fuck that. I would also argue that this podcast is kind of a meme. I think we have quoted enough memes to earn that status.
That doesn't make us a meme. That just makes us like a meme spouter.
I don't know. Price of Smiles became a meme.
That's all we got.
And that's one of ours. That's a personal one.
We need to get a third person on here to bring more contention onto the show. Like someone we can just constantly scream at for being wrong. We need to bring someone who just sucks. Like, they're just the worst.
That sounds like a poor decision.
Like, they get on this show and they're just like, yeah, Sword Art Online is my favorite anime ever.
Fuck.
I don't really like watching shows that don't have cool fight scenes.
And then we fire them.
I've never read manga. Why would I read?
I can't read. The pages are all backwards.
LOL, bro, why would I read?
Motherfucker.
Yeah, we gotta bring that person on, so then constantly every episode we're just like, alright, so this week we're gonna talk about Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena. I don't know, man, where was the fight scene this week? I skipped through it, I honestly didn't pay attention.
Bro, you just said like 10 minutes ago you didn't like fight scenes. What are you talking about, dude?
Dude, I watched, there was like, they were flying around in London and stuff. No, dude, that was the wrong witch show. Oh, no.
It's not that hard. We wrote it down for you. We would spend at least like 40 minutes every week just talking about how shitty that person is, and we would never finish anything.
So auditions are open.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. If you're garbage, if you just
fucking suck and you just are the worst, audition.
Send us your audition tape. We'll throw it right in the garbage. It's easy because we record in our dumpster.
Oh, and we got a special change to our list this week. So unfortunately, because we didn't want to do too many shows, unfortunately because Ian didn't want to do too many shows, Moriarty out, Higurashi in.
Yeah.
So we decided that originally we were going to take Higurashi, then it turned out to do the whole Final Fantasy VII remake thing where it's not really as much of a reboot as a reboot sequel. But it's good content, and I really like Higurashi, so I don't care. I'm taking it.
We don't pay attention to our own rules.
I'm going to stick it at the end, so if you don't want it spoiled or anything, you can just leave after Fire Force.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. People might not want Higurashi spoiled for them.
Yeah,
that's foresight.
That is going to go straight at the end, back of the list. Yeah.
And then they'll just click off the video and they'll miss all of our hilarious bits about how we struggle every week to remember everything we have to shill for.
I'll try to put in timestamps at some point. I just don't know how. I mean, I could figure it out in probably one Google search, but you know, I'm busy.
I would assume it's just like numbers with a colon, but I don't know.
Yeah, again, I'll
I
Google search it at
literally
some
don't
point.
know. We've basically talked about what we do. Why don't we start doing it?
Yeah, so we're starting off with Akudama Drive.
Show's fucking bonkers.
So I am glad it is not a death game thing. Instead, they are working together.
It's more of a heist movie.
Yeah, and they all get told by the cat, who is a robot cat. Basically, someone's talking to them from a distance using the robot to communicate that they need to break through. They need to break into this. I think it's the train they were talking about. It's
Yeah.
like some train that everyone like religiously prays to because every time it goes by,
There's
it looks like Aurora Borealis.
in
Aurora Borealis.
in your kitchen.
Localized entirely in the Kansai region.
Basically, I believe it was Kanto and Kansai were in a war. And
yeah, I'm pretty sure those are provinces.
yes. But long story short, Kansai got fucked real hard, and now they worship the only bridge that goes to Kanto religiously.
Yep. And they have to break into that little train thing and steal something. They're not told what it is because it doesn't matter.
I think it's like they have to steal a safe, and the
Yeah.
contents of the safe don't matter.
Yeah. And they're all like, wow, that sounds really difficult. Let's all do it. And of course, Swindler, being a regular person, is like, I really don't want to do this. But she's, of course, dragged along with them because the cat was like, well, you two weren't, her and the hoodlum guy. She's like, you two weren't intended to be here, but because you are here, that means you clearly have some sort of talent.
Yes. And Swindler is kind of a swindler. Like, she just kind of is. I also think she works in one of the they mentioned some. I watched this like 3 days ago, like an
She works
idiot.
at some government building.
Yeah, because they're talking about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I could get pretty easy access to that." And I was instantly like, "She works there.
And
That is
everyone's
her
like,
job.
oh man, of course, that's Swindler for you.
That's Swindler." Also, Hoodlum manages to convince Brawler that he has a 1 million year sentence and that he's the biggest badass of all time.
And they somehow become best bros.
And it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
I
I
love it.
like the group staying. In fact, my least favorite's Cutthroat.
Yeah, he's just crazy.
He's just the wow, so random, crazy blood,
I like blood and I like red.
red blood, woo. And then for some reason, uh, Cutthroat decides he's into Swindler.
Yeah, 'cause he's like, pink is just red that's mixed with white. I like you and I will keep everything away from you. I will kill it. I will destroy everything that gets close to you.
Yeah, so he's into her because she wore a pink shirt.
Yes. And she's got pink highlights.
Yep. And of course, we're like, we know the ship is Courier Swindler.
Yeah, it was destined. He's the first boy.
But they steal a bus, which is more like a blimp.
Yeah.
They steal a
This-
blimp bus.
And then
yeah,
crash it into a hotel.
because they have a big red do not press button, and of course, red button. Cutthroat's like, red, wee, wee. He starts pressing all the buttons, and they fly at Mach speed into a hotel.
And everyone is fine.
Yep, they're all
Because
okay.
these guys are basically indestructible. I guess being a criminal just makes you indestructible.
Being a super criminal.
Being super good at crime just
so
makes you invulnerable to damage.
so they're in the wrong place, but they take out all the police that show up and just decide to chill in one of the luxury suites.
Yeah, fuck it.
And they get more of an update on their mission, which is to go and rob that train. And then the super special police executioner force shows up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah.
I also
Uh
like how when Doctor tries to attack the cop lady, she gets like her throat slit and killed, and it's like, oh, she's definitely done. She's like, nah, I'm good. I can just stitch myself up.
they the way they do this is amazing because she sneaks up behind the cop lady and goes to stab her with a syringe, and the cop lady just cuts her hand off, and B, slits her throat, and then we don't see her like until the end of the episode. She is gone basically the entire episode,
Yeah,
and
she can just Frankenstein herself.
she just shows up with stitches and she's fine. And I was like,
I also love how the hacker dude's like, yeah, I'll be back later. Peace out. You guys handle this.
yeah, it seems kind of dangerous, and he takes the cat and dips.
Oh, and we see Courier fight without his bike.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, he just uses his gun for the most part, but then he calls his bike in and just blows up the whole floor.
Yeah, because his bike has a super secret special railgun.
Yeah, which again, that's a lot of firepower. They blew up the entire top of this building.
And you know what? The executioners are still okay.
Yeah, and they're like, "We'll get him. Mission failed. We'll get him next time."
Mission failed. We'll get them next time. Dust yourselves off. We'll try again.
The yeah, so they end up fighting the executioners, but they escape thanks to that.
And
And
it's a cool fight. I
yeah,
want to take a moment to highlight just how badass the fight between Brawler and the Executioner woman is, because it's sick.
yeah, but Brawler seems to have the upper hand on her.
Yes.
But she has these cool sort of laser sighs that she uses.
That's like the Executioner super special weapon, I think. But they
Yeah.
like the lights get all
But it
moody.
turns out her boss, the masked executioner, is way stronger than Brawler.
Yes, this dude is the baddest of badasses.
Oh, and then Hoodlum and Swindler were hiding from her. But then they bust out, and she's just like, "Who are you?" She's like, "Oh man, that guy only has a 4-year sentence. He's not even like a super criminal." And then she's like, "You're not even considered an Akudama." And he's like, "No, this is Swindler. She's so smart and so clever that she outwitted the system, and she's not even listed."
Whoa, you hacked into this, you got it out of the system? And she's meanwhile Swindler is like, no, no.
Yeah, and she just keeps
But
getting dragged deeper into it.
Hoodlum just goes off because Hoodlum is a dipshit. But
Yep.
you love him. You love him.
But yeah, they all escape, and now they're just gonna go and rob that train. It's all pretty cool so far.
I think escape is kind of a generous term. Cutthroat is literally thrown out of the window.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Cutthroat's the only one where I'm like, just throw him out. He's just, yay, blood killing.
Yeah. But you gotta, if you're having a show about a gang of motley criminals, you gotta have one. You gotta have the murder representation.
The Moitas.
The Moitas. He's a moiterer. Take him away. Take him away, boyos.
But yeah,
It's a cool
next
show.
up,
It's sick as fuck.
next up is Wandering Witch: The Journey of Elena.
This episode was depressing as fuck.
Yep, that's how it goes. Sometimes they're depressing, sometimes they're comedic. It's like a 50-50.
It's like, hey, last week we had kind of like a
Wholesome episode.
fun, wholesome introduction episode. What if we just make this one fucking sad? What if we just bring them all down? Just bring everyone down.
And that's why I say it's like an easy read. For example, the first part with the flowers, I think is like 6 to 8 pages. It's like
Yeah,
you can just
it's real quick.
yeah. But yeah, so the first part, she's going through the forest and she comes across a beautiful field of flowers.
Nothing suspicious here.
I mean, it's just, oh, it's a nice field of flowers. And then she sees there's some woman there picking flowers in the field. And she's like,
And
hey, you're a witch, aren't you? And she's like, yeah. Does me flying around in the broomstick give it away?
or the hat or the brooch or the pointed shoe, any of it. Does any of my ensemble just kind of give that away? Or
She doesn't say that, but it's pretty like, gee, no shit.
yeah, this person flies up to you on a broom wearing a witch's hat, a purple jacket, and an elaborate gold brooch. Who do you think it could be? I don't know, but we'll investigate further.
Yeah, so she goes to the woman and she's like, "Hey, can you?" She's like, "Aren't these flowers pretty? Hey, do you mind bringing like this bouquet of flowers to the city nearby?" She's like, who should I give it to?" And she's like, "Anybody, just anybody that can appreciate that they're beautiful flowers."
Oh, so you're looking to advertise? Yeah, we'll advertise the flowers.
So she goes to the nearby city, and then as she's entering, one of the guards is like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Stop!"
Cut that shit out. You
And
can't have that.
he tries taking her flowers, and she's like, "What the hell is going on? What's wrong with you?" And then an older guard kind of comes up and he explains the situation. He's like, "Hey, sorry, ma'am. He's just a little bit on edge. His sister went missing a while ago. Um, but those flowers are actually illegal here." And she's like, "Why?" He's like, "They're poisonous. To anybody who isn't capable of magic like her, those flowers drive you to go towards the place for the flowers and drive you insane."
So kind of an important thing.
Yeah, so he takes the flowers and he burns them, and she goes back to her hotel, and then the next day she leaves, but she wants to check out the flower field again.
Because that shit was weird.
Yep. And then as she does, she finds the guard from the previous day, and he's like, "Hey, you're the witch from yesterday. Thanks to you, I found my sister." And she's been fully plantified.
Yeah, and he's covered in like roots and he's all
Yeah.
green and shit.
She steps in for a second, and you can kind of see that, like, and then she steps back as, like, the roots are, like, completely around him. He's, like, turning green. So basically, I'm assuming it was too late for him.
Well, considering the fact that she leaves him to die, I would certainly hope so.
Yeah.
It would feel a little out of character for her to be like, not this one.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
one dies.
yeah. Because, yeah, I think it was too late for him, so she ended up leaving, and he's going to get turned into a full plant too and eaten. And then as she's leaving, you see coming from the fields or coming from the woods are a bunch of people that are almost like plant mummies carrying flowers heading towards the city.
We got plant zombies.
Yep, plant zombies.
What a
And
what a
everyone there is probably going to die.
what a fucking awful town to live in.
They should just set a big fire.
Just exactly, just burn the whole thing down, scorched earth.
Plants are super weak to fire. Just look at California.
Yes, California took a critical hit. But that's not all. That's not
Yeah,
all.
like I said, I figured it was gonna do the A and B plots for this, just because a lot of them are, like I said, really short stories.
Right.
So the B plot, she's flying around as she often does, and she sees a guy just standing out in a field waving at her. And yeah, or that reaffirmed my thing yesterday, because when I was reading this, I didn't really catch that he can use magic, but yeah, so he's a dude that can use magic. There can
Oh
be
yeah.
male
Yep.
spellcasters, because he flies around on a broom and stuff too.
And he magically collects happiness in a jar.
Yep, so he's flying around and he's collecting happiness, and he's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm collecting happiness."
Which is not a weird thing at all.
But
Whatever.
he explains that he's doing it for the girl he likes, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember a story I read when I was a kid about a woman who couldn't go outside because she was sick, so her husband went and saw a bunch of cool things and brought like the experience back to her." She's like,
But
"That's kind of
she
like that." She's like, "I
she
don't remember
doesn't
how it
remember
ends."
the end. And at that point I was like, she's probably fucking dead. That wife is dead at the end of that story. She doesn't live.
Yeah, so she ends up he's like, "Hey, you should come back to my village with me." And she's like, "All right."
Okay.
And
Sure, dude, whatever.
they fly back to the village, and turns out the richest house in town is his, and his dad is actually the town mayor or the
He
chief.
is, yeah, he's the chief. And
And
the town is pretty empty. Like I don't think in his
well,
storyline you see a single like
it's a
other
village,
person.
so it's like it's more of a village than a town. So it's only like a couple of houses,
Yeah, but it's empty and spooky. Not even like a single person in the background.
and it's just a little village. But yeah, so they go to
It's
the house,
desolate.
and at the house is you meet the servant girl who comes out of like a side room, and she is an Easterner who has been their servant, and she's very quiet, and basically you can tell right away, I'm like, oh, she gets abused.
Yeah, that is. She's not there because she wants to be there.
Also, I make note of the fact that she exits the room that the chief is in, and she's like putting her clothes back on as she comes out.
Ugh.
Yeah,
And there are some comments later that are reaffirming to our
yeah.
suspicions.
And so the dude, the kid that likes hers, he's nice. He's just super oblivious.
Yeah, he's dumb.
Yeah, he's dumb. But yeah, so they end up making lunch together, and Elena's constantly like, "Hey, I'll help," and he's like, "No, no, no, you're a guest. You just wait there." And then the chief comes out, and he's like, "Oh, we haven't had guests in a while," and he's just this fat old guy. And immediately you can tell he's creepy because the first thing he does is like check out Elena when she comes in, and not in like the weird like old pervert like way of like yee. He's just like that creepy, just hmm.
That stock still like you're appraising cattle or something.
Yeah, he just kind of looks down at like her legs, and then like they're just sitting at the table like together, and he's just like sitting there with his wine, just kind of like looking at her like mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable. Just a little bit.
And they
It's
have their
like
meal.
it's like going over to your significant other's family's house for the first time and having dinner and being left alone with her dad.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It's awkward. I don't like it. I don't
So
like it.
I hear you're a YouTuber for work.
I mean it's a podcast. It's on a lot of things, you know.
How much do you make doing it?
That's not a yeah, I make enough, you know. I get by.
I was making 30 grand a year hauling lumber. You should get into a
Yeah.
real trade.
You know, I used to work full time at a factory. I know the grind. I know the grind. Uh yeah, that was
I
but
think my daughter could do better.
mm,
That's all
and
I'm
then
saying.
and then we
And then
just
everyone else
sit
comes into
there.
the room, and you just gotta like sort of like live with that. Like it's like, hey, you guys having a nice time? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dad was just telling me about how he used to haul lumber.
But yeah, so they have their dinner and everything's fine, and then they
And
go to
no one
clean up.
hauls lumber.
No one hauls lumber. I don't think you can make that much hauling lumber anyway.
Honestly, you'd be surprised. Like weird manual labor like that, especially up in the Northeast, you can make decent money doing.
Mm. But he
I'm just
yeah.
saying.
So of course, while they're he talks to Elena while everyone's cleaning up, and he's just like, oh yeah, it's just she's like, oh, so you met her in the East, and he's like, actually, I bought her. She's a slave
She is a slave, and I've purchased this human being.
because she can do cooking, cleaning, and that's what I needed since I've been sad since my wife died. Also, she's gonna be a real beauty when she grows up.
Mmm. That's a fun sentence. That's a fun sentence.
Sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
What a guy.
Like I said earlier, only smiles and rainbows from this episode.
Yep, and so then they're cleaning up the kitchen and she gets startled by the guy and she drops a piece of fine china and it shatters on the ground. And of course, the second that happens, she starts getting screamed at by the chief. He starts going off saying, "Oh, why can't you get this right? You're so stupid."
You're useless.
And then she gets on the ground and just starts doing like a dogeza, being like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
And then Elena steps in.
And
All hail the conquering heroes.
yeah, so she points her wand first at him, and it looks like she's gonna like do an attack on him or something. He actually looks a little nervous, but then she just uses her magic to fix the glassware that broke.
Yeah, she could have turned that dude into a red stain on the wall, and he knows. He
Yeah.
knows.
But yeah, so she fixes that, and he's like, "Oh, well, sorry to show you such an ugly display. You even fixed our china."
Yeah, no shit.
And
Asshole.
then the kid's kind of miffed about that because he's like, "Well, I could have fixed it with magic too," but he
He
did.
says to the witch.
And she says to him, "Well, hey, she's pretty depressed right now. Maybe this is the perfect time to give her your present." He's like, "Yeah, you're right." So he calls her out and she shows up and they open together the bottle of happiness.
And it shows them a whole bunch of happy memories of other people, like people reading or sitting on park benches or playing with dogs.
And she looks at it and he tells her, "Yeah, the outside world is full of happy things, so don't be sad."
It's only your life that's depressing.
Yeah. And so then she ends up crying and he gives her a hug, but in his mind he thinks, "Yeah, everything's great." And he ends up leaving. And they do a nice shot here where they're saying goodbye to her and he's like, "Come back again and we'll make even better food next time." And as she's leaving, his shadow is kind of very thick. Like his shadow you can see pretty well, and hers is almost like sort of faded.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I thought that was nice. The show
Yeah.
does have pretty nice art direction.
Yeah, it does. So as she's flying away, she's like, "Oh, I finally remembered how that story ended."
Yeah, turns out I was right. She sees all the fun, cool sights out there, and then she kills herself.
Yeah, because
That's
she
how the
doesn't.
story ends.
And the lesson is that basically trying to do a kindness actually might be hurtful to others.
Reminding someone how shit their own life is by showing them how great the rest of the world is not always a good idea.
Yeah, it's like, "Hey, I'm helping. Look how great everything is, but not for you."
Just not for you. And Elena finishes off by saying, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go back."
Yeah, she's like, "I don't know whatever happened to her. In fact, I don't think I want to know."
Yeah. And that is a very depressing ending.
Yeah.
Cuz what happened? What happened? I don't know. But I guess we'll never find out. Fuck those people. What's next?
Assault Lily Bouquet.
The the gay show, the
The po-
Yuri program,
the power of lesbians.
the power. That is the title for this episode. The power of lesbians does save the day.
Yeah. So in this episode, they're doing some training because Yu Yu is now Riri's
Sh-
battle
uh,
sister.
Fuck. I tried to remember it specifically so I could say it. Damn it. I can't remember.
She's her German battle sister, and they're training, and she's pretty relentless with their training, which it doesn't even look that bad. All she's doing is hitting her sword.
Yeah. It's like the anime training where I will slap your sword until you're good at sword fighting.
Even though it's just like they're like, "This is too much." She's just slapping her sword.
If she moved to the left like a foot, even a couple inches, that's it. That's the training. You've done it. You've dodged. But I guess the whole point of it is
No,
like
it's not about dodging. It's about like breaking the other person's stance, I think.
it's about filling, because what they do to kill the huge is basically the huge have magic force fields that are made of the same magic that the lilies use in their weapons. So the whole training is like put more magic into your sword so you can deflect my sword. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's
And she
it's dumb.
actually does get good because at first, rich girl is like, "Hey, this is too much. You shouldn't be doing that." Also, I heard you're an asshole because everyone kind of knows you use an asshole.
Yeah.
And she ends up being Riri's like, "No, I gotta get stronger. I'm weaker than everyone else, so let me do this."
Which at that point, my first immediate thought was, what about fucking brown haired girl who doesn't do anything besides know who everyone is?
Apparently, she's non-combatant or something.
She's gotta be. So, like, right there, you're ahead of her.
Yeah, but
Plus,
are you really ahead of someone who's not participating?
yes, that is how I think of it. You will always be ahead of the people who refuse to participate.
Yeah, but if you're participating, you should. She's the worst out of all the people participating.
Hey, it's milestones.
Yeah, but so they end up hanging out, and in the bath they hear from everyone else. Like they're like, "Oh, you became Yu Yu's battle sister. That's pretty cool." And they're like, "Hey, can you tell us anything about Yu Yu?" They're like, "Oh, well, she used to have her own battle sister, but she ended up passing away during a battle
Yeah.
or something."
Also, they're part of what is called a legion, which
Which
had
is like
me.
a group of them.
And their legion is called Alfheim, which is the realm of elves from Nordic mythology, which is cool.
I mean, everything's German, Nordic, Germanic based in this.
I do find it a little ironic that they're using a lot of very heavily German words and then combining it with Norse mythology, because those are two very different languages.
Yeah, but they kind
I'm
of
a
get stuck
cunning
together.
linguist. I am a cunning linguist, so I know how all this shit works.
But yeah, so they end up doing their training, and they get to a point where Riri is actually able to reflect Yu Yu's attack. And right as that's happening, the huge attack.
It's a huge attack,
It
guys.
is a huge attack.
We will never stop making these jokes.
And then it's a huge. It's like a big one.
One
And
might say it's a big McLarge huge,
it's a big McLarge huge. And Yu Yu being Yu Yu's like, "You all stay here. You're just gonna get in my way," and goes to fight it herself. Also, we find out Yu Yu's special ability is called um, Lunatic Tracer.
it's Lunatic Trancer.
Trancer, yeah, Lunatic Trancer, which I thought sounds like a level in a rhythm game.
It
It's like, "Oh, dude, what's
really
your favorite
does.
song to play?" "Oh, Lunatic Trancer."
Yeah, I was playing some Muse Dash yesterday and I decided I would go back to Lunatic Trancer, and that song just really kicks my ass every time.
Yeah, so that's her ability. And so she goes fighting, and then you realize the spines on this thing, this huge, are all weapons from different lilies, meaning
They're
that
charms.
meaning that it has consumed other lilies, and quite a
It's
lot of them.
it's a sick badass. And it's also a reformer because it's done battle and then left and then come back.
Yeah. And so after seeing all these lilies' charms, it makes Yu Yu kind of go into a crazed frenzy, and she activates Lunatic Trancer.
Which is basically she turns into a berserker from Fate and she just attacks everything.
Yeah, which is why people are like, "Oh yeah, some people think she killed her battle sister because they found marks from her sword on her sister's body."
But she was exonerated for a lack of evidence.
Yeah.
Which, if she had charm like sword marks all over her body, I would count that as some pretty goddamn good evidence.
Yeah. And we see that she actually did, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
Well,
But her battle.
she stabs her through the chest because she goes into a frenzy, and then we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Let's do the other one first. We'll do
Yeah,
the
so she starts going into crazy mode, and Riri, of course, is going to run in and help her.
and everyone's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's
Because
the
she,
dumbest idea.
yeah, because she learns the story that everyone thinks that she killed her battle sister, and she's like, oh, thanks for telling me this. I think I understand her a little better now.
Which is baffling, but whatever. You do you, dude. But she decides to reach out to Yu Yu. The two fucking characters are Yu Yu and Riri. God damn it.
Wait a second. You, Riri.
They're both
Yuri,
fucking Yuri.
Yuri.
It's Yuri. God damn it. We've solved the puzzle.
We did it.
We've figured out the naming convention of the main characters of this heavily, obviously Yuri program.
Mm.
God
But yeah,
damn.
she dives in, and they're able to speak through their swords.
Through the slapping of swords, their magic communicates to each other.
Which in this Yuri show is the most manly thing.
It
Because nothing is
is.
more manly than communicating through combat.
I like. I feel like
Don't tell me with your
speaking.
words. Explain to
Yeah.
me with your sword.
Explain to me with your fists. Real men talk through their fists.
I'm just picturing like a world in which you actually do talk with your. It's like a political debate, and it's just a dude beating down on another dude. It's just like, and that's why I think taxes need to be lower.
That's some Senator Armstrong level shit right there.
I could break the president in half with my bare hands.
We're making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. God damn.
How is wasting billions going to help the economy?
Yeah, I feel like we've referenced Metal Gear Rising Revengeance every episode for the past like 4 weeks.
I don't think it's been that much. I think we referenced Metal Gear more than Revengeance.
We have we have that's true, but we have made direct references to that exact scene of Revengeance a lot. I think we did take a brief hiatus as the season ended. Yeah, I mean it's just so good though. It's just so good. But anyway, they talk through the slapping of swords, and then Riri reaches out. Nom, nom, nom. That's a tongue twister you can taste. And she fixes her. She does the sun's getting real low, big guy to Yu Yu, and it makes her not suck. And then they,
Yeah.
through the power of lesbianism,
Yep, they hug
kill
and
the
they
monster.
combine their swords, and it combines their power, and everyone's like, "Wow,
This part was fucking dumb.
that's a whole new level of gay."
It was so fucking dumb. Like I watched it and I was like, this is stupid. This is easily the goofiest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, they literally win through the power of lesbians.
And because like they don't actually do any kind of moves or anything, they
They
just
just
hug and
and
then
then
fly around and kill the monster.
they don't even fly around. It's just they float in the air from the hug and then just dive straight down at it.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd break that out this quick. I thought we'd get at least like one or two more episodes before we got stuff like that.
Yeah, so I guess they're good now.
I
No
guess
more
they're
my
just good.
dead teammate.
Oh yeah, also we figure out that Yu Yu she has a roommate. Like she doesn't live in her apartment alone. She just sits in the dark all the time.
Imagine being her roommate and you come back all the time and she's just staring out the window by herself in the dark. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, so I'm gonna watch Netflix on my laptop. You good?
I want to watch The Haunting of Bly Manor. I've heard it's pretty spooky, so like if I jump or scream, don't get concerned, all right? That show is good. This show is fun.
Yeah.
There's a distinct difference between those two categories.
Yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't say it's good,
It is
but
not good,
but
but
it's
it is fun.
enjoyable.
What's next? What has to follow beating a monster with the power of lesbians?
So it would have been Moriarty, but we dropped Moriarty. Apologies to the Fujoshi. But
All one of them.
yep, at least that watched this podcast. So we're gonna push Higurashi to the back. So the next up would be The Day I Became a God. So episode one of this show was just kind of whatever. It was bog standard. This was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I feel like the show was holding out on me, and I'm kind of mad.
Yeah, so episode two was fucking great. So it starts with them going to his house and his um so Odin meets his parents, and so his mom and dad are just kind of like, well, his mom's like, "Oh yeah, nice to meet you" and stuff. And he's like, "We can't really possibly be having her live here. She's not even, if she was family, I could understand." And she goes, "Well, she's a distant relative."
Oh,
And he's just like, "Well, dad will probably say something." And she's like, "Don't worry, he'll say yes." And then the dad shows up and he's just taking off his suit from work and he's like, "Yeah, no, it's fine.
I,
One of our
I
relatives came, one of our distant relatives came. We can't just abandon them."
I guess I'm just related to Odin now.
And then the sister shows up and she's just like, "Who the hell is this?"
Maybe a port in this storm of insanity.
And then Odin finds out that everybody in the family has a really awesome name, where essentially how the main character's name basically came out to um, the sun god. The sister is the sky god, the dad is the earth god, and the mom is the time god.
Yeah,
And she's like, "Why does everyone in this family have awesome names?" Because we find out Odin's name is Sato Hina,
yeah.
which is like a pretty plain name.
There is. I would go so far as to say there is nothing interesting about that name
Yeah, because
for being an omniscient deity.
he even makes a comment on that at first, and she's like, "Oh, are you laughing about the name Hina? Are you laughing about the most common Japanese girl baby name?"
Oh, it hurts. You hate to see it.
Yeah, so she has a very plain name, and he has her staying with him. He's like, "Well, I guess I'm just gonna study. I got entrance exams." And then she takes all his shit and throws it, and she's like, no, the world's gonna end in a month. You don't have to worry about that shit."
You know, that whole thing she's been talking about nonstop for like, what, 3 days?
Yep. And so they end up playing video games instead, and they play some generic looking ass RPG.
I love how she interrupts him studying to be like, the world is gonna end. Let's just play video games instead. Fuck studying. Let's just have fun.
Let's just play video games. That would be my take.
That would be my take. If someone was like, hey, dude, the world is gonna end in 30 days. What are you gonna do about it? I'd be like, guess I'm just gonna fucking grind Genshin. Actually, now I don't have to worry about money, so I can just wail as much as I want.
Yeah.
Venti, here I come.
His banner's going away soon though.
It is. I think today's the last day for it, actually.
It is, so bust out the wallet.
So by the time you all are hearing
Do you
this,
want your cute androgynous male? You better roll.
I kind of don't. I have Sucrose, and she's Wind Bay. She's much better. Not in terms of like actual utility, probably.
No, because he's pretty busted.
He's a busted 5-star. But
That doesn't matter right now though.
she's got fuzzy animal ears, and I like that.
The the best part of this episode is so he wants to get closer obviously to that girl he likes, his childhood friend. And we learn that she's been always super quiet ever since her mom died, but always stuck around him. And he started becoming into her when he noticed that everyone at school was. And he's like, "Huh, why is everyone into Izanami?" "Oh, right. Because she's a girl and attractive." "Oh,
Who'da
no."
thunk it?
But yeah, so he ends up trying to get closer to her. He figures out the best way would be to help his sister with her films because she's a film student.
And not an adult film student.
Like she's in the film club at school, so she's going to make a movie, and he's like, "Oh man, I could use the movie to get us closer together." And the first thing they try to do is they start ripping off that asteroid movie with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Armageddon.
Yeah, they start ripping off Armageddon. It's the you get like the cinema like bars, and it's being recorded. He's in the astronaut suit talking to her, and he's like, "I need to go to space now. There's an asteroid coming to hit the Earth, and we need to set off a nuclear explosion inside of it. They also need me because I have superior drilling skills from when I worked on an oil rig."
You know, the exact plot of Armageddon.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, when did you learn to do that?" As a child. She's like, "Oh, you're like a prodigy then." And then his dad's just standing in the background going, "It's time." And she's like, "Oh, is that your dad here? It's time." Is that all he can say? It's time. Does your dad have to go to work?
It's time.
And so he ends up he's like, "All right, will you wait for me?" And she's like, "Sure." And then he walks over behind a wall, and then you just see sparklers going off because they're just holding up sparklers. And then he comes back around and goes, "I've done it. I've returned." She's like, "You were just there for like a second." He's like, "Yes, I set off a nuclear detonation inside the asteroid." And then the dad comes over. "Let me shake the hand of the hero who saved mankind." Are you sure your dad doesn't have to go to work?
I love this because it reminds me of the films we used to make, except I wish the stuff we made was that bad.
Yeah, no,
Like
it's special bad.
it's special bad.
And of course it doesn't work. She's like, "Can I go home now?" And he's like, Sure." And then the next day he's like, "It didn't work." So they try again with the new script, and then they're just doing Rocky.
Because that's gonna be the theme of the day. Ripping
And
off as many movies as we can.
the dad's there too, again, but he's the referee. And she's like, "Does your dad seriously not have to go to work?" It's him and his best friend and his dad. And then he's doing that part where he's like, "Adrian! Adrian!" And then Steve's like, "Izanami!" And she's like, "Why are you shouting that?" And she's like, "All right, can I go home now?"
She
they're all
hasn't
like,
seen Rocky, I guess.
and then him and his dad and his friend are all sitting in a circle, and they're like, "Damn it, it didn't work."
I love how everyone else is also in on this scheme. Like, holy
Yeah,
shit, we
even his
gotta help
sister,
him.
after when she's editing it, she's like, "Oh man, this will make the perfect movie. My brother does everything he can to try to impress his childhood friend."
We gotta help my brother get laid for my movie.
Then the last one they do, or they're going to do, she dresses him up like Edward Scissorhands. And then after they try, like, they don't even show the movie for that one. It just shows him talking to her, and she's like, "Man, I wish I didn't have to worry about studying like you." And so
Oh,
they realize movies are probably not going to be what makes it work.
no,
So
no.
they decide to try the next thing, music, because she wants to be a movie sound designer.
Which is a cool job.
Yeah. But he's like, "Man, what should I do?" And she's like, "Just play her music or something." So they go to the music store, and Odin shows him this perfect piano piece, but he doesn't play piano. So they decide to do a training montage of him learning how to play the piano at a store on like one of the free use ones, which after a while, if I was like the guy who owned the music store, I'd be like, "Are you going to buy this or not?"
Yeah. It's
But
time to
instead,
shit or get off the pot, dude.
yeah, they come in like every day for like a couple of days, and you even see the guy who owns the store standing next to Odin, just kind of nodding, like, "Yeah, that's right, you're improving."
It actually reminded me of this thing someone showed me about like super budgeters. There's a show about these people that are super stingy. And at one point, this woman gets her workout and they show her doing this several days in a row. She gets her workout by going to a fitness equipment store and actually just riding one of the ellipticals in the store. And the dude's like, yeah, she comes in every once in a while. She never buys it, but like, maybe one day she will. And these are actual people. These are real ass people.
I feel like if I was at work and someone was just doing something for free constantly, I'd be like, "Hey, should we do anything about this, boss?"
Yeah, how do you not shut that down day one? Just like, yeah, no. You
Also, why do you
tried
have
it.
an elliptical just for use for that long? I feel like you'd be like, "Yo, it's there just so you can see how it feels, not so you can actually get a workout in."
Yeah. But that's what that lady does. She even tries to build like a generator in the store with it. And they talk to the clerk after, and he's like, I didn't actually think that would work, but it was kind of a fun science project. So I figured, yeah, fuck it. Why not? We'll let her do it. They let this woman build a generator using one of their display ellipticals because they were bored.
That actually is kind of neat.
It is, but like, come on, dude. What are you doing? God damn. I forgot where we were in the actual show because I got sidetracked with weird shit that people show me on the internet.
So he learns the piano song and he goes to
Oh yeah.
Izanagi's house. He calls her up and goes, "Hey, I want to play the piano. Can I play your piano?" And she's just like, sure." So he shows up and he gets ready to play the song, and he's playing it, but he's not playing it the way he wants to play it. It's just not coming out as good.
So what does he do to solve this, Alex? What does he do to fix this problem?
He doesn't. He just keeps playing until she sits down next to him and just starts playing it instead, but better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just kind of gets up and watches, but she's like really getting into it, and it's a really nice song. She's like, "That's an amazing song. Did you write that yourself?" And he's like, "No, I kind of got some inspiration from God." Which sounds pretty pretentious.
It does.
That's like,
That's
I didn't write it. God told me to write it.
that's like anything I've heard at the Country Music Awards in the past 5 years. God
Yeah.
help me write this song about my truck and how much I love Budweiser.
Country music is not a genre I have any interest in like maintaining its existence. Like if someone like was like, "Listen, you or if someone was trying to take over the world or like destroy basically be like a supervillain, I'm going to destroy country music unless you all do this." I'd be like, "Dude, just do it.
Try me, motherfucker.
You're not a villain, you're a hero."
Oh no, I failed. Oh, Captain Destructo destroyed all country music. How tragic. I will say, I'd be bummed that Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash are gone,
Now that
but at
Johnny
some
Cash was
point,
technically considered rock.
he is, but he can be lumped in if you get a little stretchy with it. I feel like a lot of people would, but he is more classic rock.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
you know
well,
what? You got to make
poor
these
Willie Nelson though.
sacrifices.
But yeah, it was an interesting episode.
This one, it grabbed me a lot more than the first one because the first one I just kind of like watched.
The movie bits were fun.
Yeah, I had a lot more fun watching this one.
Yeah. The yeah, I hope they keep up sort of this sort of flow for it.
Yeah, yeah. It had a very good pace and everything kind of moved nicely.
Yeah.
We should move on because we're at 54 minutes and Higurashi is 3 episodes out.
Yeah, but we can I don't know, I can run through Higurashi pretty quickly. But
That's
Fire
fair.
Force.
Power Force.
So it is a big clusterfuck.
Everyone's fighting, kind of.
Yeah, honestly, this was a really good episode. This show is just really good now.
It's good as fuck, and you should watch it.
So in this most recent episode, right now it's a big brawl between all the characters. And uh, one of the characters, the new characters, which is Inca's maid, has a really terrifying power where her fire power is essentially necromancy.
Yeah, she can
Fire
turn.
necromancy.
Yeah, she can make infernals into super infernals using dead bodies.
Yep, and it turns out that super one they fought before, that was her that created it.
But it was a shitty one because she makes
Yeah.
another one and she's like, this one's a good one.
And Maki and the woman from Hijima with the puppets decide to team up because it really is it's 2v1v1 and it really doesn't work out in their favor to not be fighting on the same side.
Mm.
So they end up joining forces and um Hinamara or no, I forget her name. Hanamura? I don't know, crazy bitch with the crown.
Oh
Electro
yeah,
clown girl.
Hanamura, I think.
Yeah, Hanamura decides that she well, because Arrow mentions something before about not wanting to be partnered with her, and then she just grabs Arrow and just starts electrocuting her in a really lewd fashion because it like zaps off some of her clothing.
It zaps off a lot of her
Yeah,
clothing. And you know what? Suddenly, Arrow has moved up in the power rankings, in the waifu power rankings.
yeah.
She
That
is.
that scene happened, and I was like, damn,
She got a little bit better.
she got
S-
she got the figure.
turns out Arrow is stacked, but she was hiding it. She was hiding it under her very tactical clothing.
And she has a scar on her face from her fight with the lieutenant.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah,
It's a
because we
nice
see
little
her.
bit of continuity.
Yeah, but Hanamura basically says um, that she's going to go and instead go check out the other fight. So she leaves Arrow to fight the two of them, and she's like, if you fail, I'm going to kill you."
Yeah, so that's fun. That's
Yeah,
a hey, win this fight, or you'll die.
what an abusive relationship.
What a loving boss.
She
Working for
really is
the
the
white.
worst because she always beats on Chiron, but it doesn't really matter for Chiron because he's a tank.
Yeah, Chiron is the tankest of tanks,
Yeah,
but she fucks off.
yeah. So she fucks off, leaves them to fight, and um, she has the Dominion, like the Hajime woman has her Dominion, her puppet thing, chase her, because that isn't made out of electricity.
So it still works.
Yep, so it's powered by
Because
fire.
how do you counter the electric woman? You use an EMP.
Yep, so their plan is to pick up Arthur and have him set off an EMP, but because Arthur's absolutely stupid, they have to sort of Vulcan has to sort of convince him he's doing the whole sword in the stone thing.
But even Arthur is like, hold on. Didn't he pull it out of the stone? I'm putting this into the
He's like,
stone.
"Yeah, you got to put it into the stone to pull it out."
And Arthur falls for it because Arthur is fucking dumb. But
I also
also,
realized a sort of fun comparison. This has probably been made by someone a while ago, but I only just realized it. Arthur is probably the dumbest and most annoying character in Fire Force, and this author's other work, Soul Calibur, not Soul Calibur, Soul Eater,
Soul Calibur.
his other work, Soul Eater, the most annoying character was Excalibur.
Oh shit.
Arthur and Excalibur, annoying and stupid.
I forgot about that. Maybe
Yeah,
this guy just really kind of hates knights or the Legend of Arthur
he
and
hates
wants to make them
Arthurian
dumb.
legend.
I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something.
Because think about it, when was Arthur's best episode? When he was pretending to be a samurai.
Holy shit, you're right. Because they're just the Japanese knights.
But yeah, so he ends up convincing him to do it, and then there's a big EMP because what originally happens is Hanamura uses her sort of brainwashing ability to mess with the kid as he's stuck into the giant infernal, and it
Right.
basically makes him go crazy. And he turns out his power is like nuclear
Yeah,
lasers.
he's got radioactive super lasers.
And all the underpowered people have to back off because pretty much the only people that could stand up to a certain amount of radiation are the actual Fire Force users. And
And you don't want to have licked
yeah,
fried.
and there's an absolutely fantastic scene where the Ashen Reaper gets called by his boss. He's
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Yes, yes, sir. It's Kurano. Yes, I understand, sir. But yes, I was gonna go after the weaker ones first. Yes, they do have the kid in the infernal. Yes,
I'm an
but
idiot? Yes,
idiot,
sir.
me, sir. Yes, but the weaker ones, sir. I was gonna focus on them first. An idiot, sir. Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, I understand, sir. Goodbye."
It's
And then
very good.
he's like, "It's tough being a salary man."
It's very good. Because
And then
it stops everything for him to take this phone call.
and it's great because we're getting like a team fight almost, where he basically says to Shinra, he's like, "All right, listen, my job's on the line, so we have to team up."
We need to do this because I'll get fired if I don't.
And there's a nuclear beam that's about to hit Shinra, and Chiron actually blocks it. And he's like, "Why did you do that?" And he tells him, "My job is to protect the pillars, so I'm gonna protect you." So we got a badass team up of the Ashen Reaper, Chiron, and Shinra.
And they're all gonna fight a child in a weird necromantic infernal. And it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be sick as shit.
Hanamura kind of sucks. Think about this. She fucked over the evangelists with this.
Yeah,
Why
she
is he
fucked
in such
over.
a high position of power?
I don't know. I do not know. Because all she seems to do is fuck things up for everybody whenever she shows up.
Yeah, because even the necromancy girl almost died.
Yeah, because she's talking to
Inca.
Inca, and Inca's like, "Hey, if you keep standing there, you're gonna die."
And she just
And
kind
she's
of
like,
like, "Oops,
"Oop, hold on.
let
Oop,
me just scoot right by you."
oh, let me just shift over a couple inches so I don't get sliced in half with a nuclear laser." Yeah,
But yeah, good shit. I'm really happy how things end up like I'm really happy to see characters teaming up all the time now. Where it's like, oh, you think they're gonna fight, but instead they're gonna work together.
I do like that, and
Because I
it doesn't.
actually, despite the fact that he's a shitty person, I do like the Ashen Reaper.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun
He's just
because
so weird.
he's just the biggest weirdo who's been leashed by a corporation. So he has to play by their rules.
It's like, I just want to pick on kids. And then, oh, yes, sir. An idiot, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Oh, I hate being a salary man.
It's
And
just amazing.
the way everything always leads up and turns out, it makes sense to have these characters teaming up because it would kind of suck if everyone ended up teaming up, but it didn't feel like the reason was worth it.
That's why I'm pretty sure he's going to end up being the sixth Pillar's Guardian.
Yeah, I am inclined to agree. Now you have to protect this child that you get to bully all the time. You just have to keep him alive. Because that's the thing. They do talk about that this episode a little bit. Every pillar has a guardian, and Arthur is Shinra's.
I don't know if Arthur is confirmed to be Shinra's.
That's what they say. I am more inclined to believe it's Captain Obi, but Arthur does come in the clutch more often.
Yeah, it feels like it is. It's art, but I feel like more of like the. I also kind of feel like Joker kind of has like a watching role over him.
Kind of, but we haven't seen Joker interacting with him in a long time.
Yeah, it has been a bit.
Joker's been off doing his own thing for a while. I think it could be. I think that's how it
Because
could develop.
the dark hero looks over the demon hero.
Yes. Yes. But I'm looking forward to seeing everyone team up for this cool fight next week. This is gonna be sick.
And now it is time for Higurashi knew.
I
Not gonna lie, they had us in the first half.
Not gonna lie, they had us in the first half. I can't, because when I watch these shows, I like to think of little jokes that I will inevitably forget, only to remember after recording the podcast. I couldn't think of anything while watching this. This is not a goofs program.
So Ian has never watched the original.
I have not. I
So
own it, but I
yeah,
haven't
he
seen it.
has it. He has it on Blu-ray. He has like the special Blu-ray that has the entire thing.
Yeah, because they were selling them for like $6 at one point, and I was like, well, might as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna make him watch it at some point, but he does. But you know,
You won't have to make me.
we're
I will
watching
just
it.
watch it.
We're watching it for the podcast because one, I really like Higurashi. This is the only chance I'm gonna have to talk about it. And Ian being not prepared will not stop me from talking about Higurashi.
I won't jump into it, dude.
Yep. So he'll kind of learn as he goes. He'll get some things spoiled for him, but he's never been the type of person to really care about spoilers, so it's fine.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Higurashi is one of those things that's about the journey, but also I feel like I
It's a
watched it through not knowing, so it was kind of cool being like, oh,
it's about Shino's journey. Kino's journey. God damn it.
yeah. So the first episode plays out exactly like the original first episode. So we have Mayabara Keiichi. He is a kid who's recently moved with his family to the village of Hinamizawa. And he's not from the area, but since going there, he has met a couple of the kids at school and become good friends with them, specifically Ryugu Rena, who is the redhead girl you've probably seen pictures of holding a hatchet for the past 10, 12 years, and
Yes.
Mion Sonozaki.
She has green hair.
She has green hair. Yeah.
And she walks around fucking strapped.
Yeah, it's like a airsoft gun, I think. Because she's a kid.
Yeah, that was the thing that caught me off guard. But they just never explain it or talk about it in the show. So I didn't know.
And then two younger kids who are not in this year, but they're kind of in one of those schools where there's not a lot of students, so they kind of mix the age in the classes.
Everyone just go to whatever classroom you feel like. Whatever, who cares?
There is Rika and Satoko. And so this isn't
Satoko's
revealed.
a little shit.
Yeah, Satoko's a little shit, but there's reasons. So Rika, this is revealed in the second episode, which in the original series was not revealed until the second half. Rika
Spoilers.
basically experiences Groundhog Day in the sense with Higurashi is kind of done in a way of like shit happens, a bunch of people die, and then things reset. And it is because Rika, one of the characters, kind of has like a sort of she has sort of this spirit Hanyu, who is like this deity that kind of allows her to come back to life. So the original series was more about finding the mystery of why Hinamizawa happens. And why basically everyone keeps dying. And over the show, different arcs led us into sort of different explanations as to why certain incidents happen that eventually lead up to them discovering the cause of the mystery. But
And she's pretty pissed off
yeah,
when her deity shows up and is like, hey, we're going to do that again.
It's like, hey, we're going back to 1983. But yeah, so this is the first time we've seen Rika as a high schooler, which is like in that scene where she's kind of floating in the void.
Right.
And yeah, because we've never seen that before, so that immediately was what told me like, oh, this is not a remake, or at least a direct remake. So
Marty, we gotta go back.
I think they're going to be doing this. Basically, it's the same thing, but with new arcs that are bringing up some new stuff, just new different routes it could take. But again, I don't really know what's going to happen because it
Not
is
even
already
Alex
slightly
knows.
different. Though, like I said, the first episode, it plays out the exact same way. So Keiichi shows up in town, he has some fun with his friends, and then after there's an old junkyard outside of town, and Rena likes to go there to collect things, so he goes with her. And then a dude on a bike with a camera shows up, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "I'm Jiro Tomitake. I like to take photos of birds and stuff around here." And he's like, "Hey, you should ask people permission before you take their photo." He's like, "Oh, sorry about that." He's like, "I'm used to birds not asking permission."
And that's a recurring theme.
And then he sees Rena playing around in there, and he's like, "Oh, what's she doing?" And Keiichi as a joke is like, "Oh, she's probably looking for a dead body." And then he looks back, and Tomitake gives him the most serious look and goes, "Yeah, pretty nasty incident, isn't it? I hear they're still looking for one of the arms."
That's also a theme. Suddenly serious.
Yeah, and which it has him like, what? And he's like, "Oh yeah, you didn't hear about the incident? No, yeah, it was real bad." And
Anyway, I gotta get going. See you
yep,
around.
and so he then sort of asks, anytime he asks sort of Rena or Mion about it, he's like, "Hey, so was there ever like an incident or something here?" It'll do a
Don't worry
really,
about it.
yeah, close up on like their face, like their lower half of their face, and just, "I don't know anything about it," or "Nope, nothing happened." And
None of your concern.
they find a statue of Colonel Sanders down there that Rena wants to bring home, that was thrown out in the junkyard, but they need to come back the following day in order to collect it. So they need to bring something like an axe or something to cut up some of the debris. And as they go there, Keiichi finds a stack of newspapers, like old newspapers that were thrown out in magazines, and one talking about how a dam worker, because they wanted to make a dam that would have gone through the village, one of the leaders of the dam project was killed by a mob and cut up into pieces.
Yep.
Yep. And that's kind of the first episode. And then they end it with essentially the opening theme song of the 2007 series, which I thought was dope.
That's a good callback. It's always nice when they do callbacks and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And we just kind of see Rena standing behind him with like a hatchet, with just kind of this
Oh.
disappointed look on her face.
Thought this was gonna be a good one.
But yeah, so they get out Colonel Sanders then the next episode and bring him back. And you find out that Rena collects basically a bunch of statues, like from different places, different like fast food places, or she even has like a mailbox.
Yeah, she just collects weird shit from the junkyard.
And I'm gonna be just because you haven't seen the original, I'm not gonna bring up something unless they bring it up. So I'm not gonna bring up how the original goes, since I can tell that this arc is gonna play out slightly different.
Okay,
But yeah, so
I
they
am
end up,
okay with that.
yes, because they, again, it looks like it's gonna play out differently. So the second episode, they're just going around doing their stuff, playing around, having fun. When he finds out there's a festival they have every year called Watagashi or Watanagashi or something like that,
Yeah,
and it's basically their festival to celebrate Oyashiro-sama, who's their deity.
and Keiichi
And
don't know shit about it.
yeah, he doesn't know anything about it, but he has fun hanging out with his friends, and they get a visit from Tomitake, and he ends up just kind of saying hi to them and stuff. He takes a photo for them, I think, and then he ends up leaving.
He does,
And
and they're like, "Hey, don't take pictures without people's permission. That's weird."
and Rena basically calls him over before Rika calls him over before he leaves to give him a pat on the head.
Cause she knows shit.
Yep, she kind of gives him a little goodbye pat, and
Goodbye.
yeah, and so Tomitake leaves, and he meets up with some woman on the riverbank. And then the next day, Keiichi gets called down to the office because a police officer wants to speak with him. Uh, Mr. Delicious, because his name is,
Oishi-san.
yeah, Oishi, which is Oishi.
Was
delicious.
she?
But yeah, so he's like, "Hey, you're Mayabara Keiichi, right? Come to my car. We can talk in there. I have air conditioning."
It's hot out here,
He's a very big boy. Yeah, he's
and
a
they
big
they
boy.
they
They do
do.
go in the car, and he basically asks him what he believes about curses and stuff, and he's just like, "Oh, well, curses are ridiculous." He's like, "Right? You're from the city, so you know that's stupid." It's like, but there's every year on the night of Watanagashi, there's always one person that dies and one person that goes missing. And he gives sort of a list of events that have happened over the past 4 years of this sort of thing constantly happening. And after that, he asks him basically, he's like, "Wait, why do you want my help?" And he's like, "Because everyone from this town just believes in the curse, so they don't actually like, they're no help for a police investigation. But you, because you're not from this place, you might be able to help me by kind of learning some things from the villagers."
Dig, ask around, be my nose on the proverbial grindstone.
He basically asks him to be his man on the inside.
And he does.
Yep, but he asks him not to like tell any of his friends or something, just to like, not kind of make the villagers worry or anything. And you find out that the couple from the previous night, Tomitake and that woman he was with, are missing. And the last time Keiichi saw them, he saw them talking by the river and decided to leave them alone because it's like, "Oh, he's with his girlfriend, so I'll give him some alone time."
Well, now they've disappeared.
Yep.
Also, in that scene, we see Rena in the background being all sus.
Yeah, because they believe that, because everyone in the village just believes that people get spirited away or like demoned away. So of course they're just like, "Oh, that's just the curse. That's Orishima-sama's curse."
Is the curse?
And yeah, so Keiichi's pretty like nervous about all this, and he asks Rena about it. He's like, "You're not hiding anything from me." And then Rena's like, "Okay, how about you're the one who's hiding things? Why are you just hanging out with that old police officer?"
And what about hiding that shit that you found at the dump site? What
Yeah,
about
what?
that, huh?
And then she starts calling, and then he mentions, he's like, "Oh, well, it's not really anything." And then she does the famous like "Usoda" scene where she calls him a liar and like screams at him, and then she basically goes on a thing saying that she's been trying really hard and trying to like, she just kind of keeps going on a rant that she's been doing her best, trying really hard, and he kind of leaves freaked out by her, and he gets a call from Mr. Delicious on his phone, and he's like, "Hey," they're like, "Keiichi, it's the bookstore calling you." And he's like, "Hey, sorry, I had to tell your parents it was the bookstore so they don't know you're helping a police officer with an investigation."
Yeah, you wouldn't want the kid's parents to know he's helping with the police investigation.
Yep. So he ends up telling him, "Hey, so I looked into your friend Ryugu Rena, and apparently she actually moved out of Hinamizawa for a while, and she got in trouble at her old school for breaking a bunch of windows. Yeah, she got super violent over there or something." He's like, "Oh, that's weird and creepy." He's like, "Yeah, I just thought I'd let you know."
Also, turns out she was diagnosed with some psych issue that I was going to look into, but I also forgot to do that. And turns out she kept mentioning the name of that god, whose name
Yeah,
I forget.
Orashiro-sama.
Yeah, she keeps mentioning that. And he's like, what the fuck? But they're not from here. And he's like, well, about that.
Yeah, she actually is from the village, but moved away when she was younger, but then moved back.
Hmm. And then his dad starts banging on the door.
And he's like, "Hey, Keiichi." He's like, "Look at you, Mr. Smooth Moves. You had Rena over." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What are you talking about? I let Rena come upstairs."
Yeah, I told her where your room was.
And he's just like, "Oh, fuck." And he just looks
And
and sees like, it shows kind of, he's like, "That means while I was on the phone." And it just shows like a sort of in his mind of what it looked like, just her eye just looking through the slit in the door.
which you'd think Pops would be kind of sus about the girl he let into his house. Even because, like, she's gone, she's disappeared, she's just out, she's outie. Where'd she go? I don't know. But
Yeah.
she's not there anymore.
So now he is all on edge and nervous.
Shit's bad.
Yeah.
Shit's bad, man. But
After
the
this
show is
arc,
good.
we probably yeah. I'm still really enjoying it just because I'm liking how things are different. Um, just because there are some subtle differences so far, even just the way they're handling it. Um, but yeah, I guess I'll wait till the arc ends to sort of just tell you how the original one plays out if you don't already watch it before then. Because we
I'll
probably only have we have 1 or 2 episodes of this arc left. I think probably only one. Because the first
all
arc was very short. It was only about 4 episodes.
right.
I remember when I told James to watch Higurashi, he was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." He watched the show is broken into 2 halves. The question arcs where they give you a bunch of different arcs that all have like different endings where it seems like nothing is resolved, but because it leaves you with more questions than answers because it's like, "What happened? Why did this go like that?" And then the answer arcs where it's the same exact arc but from a different character's perspective that kind of shows you what happens.
Yeah. And
Because that's the
yeah.
interesting thing about Higurashi is the whole perspective thing, where it's like, from this character's perspective, that's how everything looks like it's going. From another character's perspective, it is completely different.
Yeah. And that takes a little bit of emotional investment or mental investment because you need to go in understanding that it's not you're
I've
not
explained
gonna
that to him.
know.
He watched all the question arcs, and he's just like, I just didn't get it. And I'm like, dude, just just start watching the answer arcs. You finished the question arcs. Why would you watch the entirety, 24 episodes of questions, just to not watch the answers?
I don't know.
But I know
I
this
don't
one's
know.
going to have a whole different ending, which is going to be really strange. Because, again, it's pretty much been close up to this point for the first arc. But yeah, so I would recommend if you watch those first 4 episodes, next week you can be like, that ended differently than this.
Hmm. I'll try and set aside some time this week.
Yeah.
That'll be my homework.
But yeah, I love Higurashi. I was super into the original anime, and I'm into this. I like the production quality it has so far. I'm still weary on it just because I felt like Higurashi had a decent ending. I don't know. I don't. I didn't feel like we needed anything more to it. Like, hey, we've solved Higurashi. Rika goes on to becoming a high school student, and everything's good. But instead, nope, back to 1983.
I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. And if you want to join us in waiting and finding out, feel free to like and subscribe the podcast on YouTube and also subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Yes. We always post there first, so if you want first come, first served, YouTube's the place to go.
And if you want the podcast on the go, then you can find us on basically any platform. If you can get a podcast on it, we are probably on it.
Yeah. And if you want to know when we post, we update on social media, Twitter and Facebook, respectively, at Protagonist Seat.
Yes, both the same. We tried to make it just as easy for you. The amazing, fantastic intro we have was made by a gentleman named Popskyy. You can find him on
Popskyy.
Bandcamp, SoundCloud. I believe he's on SoundCloud as well. But Bandcamp, you can buy his stuff. He's got a lot of good chiptune music. I would recommend checking it out. I think that's basically it. I think that's all our stuff.
Yeah, that's everything.
Clean, smooth, efficient,
Buttery.
buttery. We buttered your toast with our anime. But now we need you to go butter other people's toast with our podcast. The easiest, cheapest, and best way to support us is to send us to other people. Recommend us. Word of mouth is how we spread.
Post us everywhere, even if people don't want you to.
Yeah.
Just be
Post
annoying with
us.
it. Be like, look at this podcast I like, and they're like, please, this is a forum for cancer survivors.
This this is the local page of a politician. And
This is the
then
police department's Facebook page.
I swear, if any of you post it on a police department's Facebook page and you send us a screenshot of it, we will shout you out. We will, because
I
that is
don't want to.
amazing.
I don't want to be on a police department's page. I don't want a bunch of like angry boomers like commenting.
The boomers can't fucking figure out how to comment. We're
I don't know. Go on any classic rock song and you'll just look at the comments.
yeah, that's fair.
You go on any classic rock song and you just look at the comments and it's like, man, they don't make music like they used to. Or back in I remember seeing this band live, 1969. That was the greatest summer of my life.
Yeah.
It was the summer of '69.
Summer of '69. Nice. But anyway, that's all we've got. Thank you for sticking around, and we hope you stick around more in the future. Adios, muchachos.
Sayonara.